Have you ever wondered why life hurts so much sometimes? Why no matter how much you try to avoid it, suffering always finds a way back into your story? Maybe it was the heartbreak that left you feeling like a part of your soul had been torn out. Maybe it was the failure you never saw coming, the betrayal that cut deeper than words, or the silence of someone you thought would always be there. Pain has a way of making us feel powerless, like we're trapped inside a storm we never asked for. And yet, hidden within that storm lies something few people are ever taught to see. Pain is not just an enemy, it's a teacher. Philosophers, mystics, and thinkers across centuries have whispered the same truth. Suffering is the fire that shapes the soul. It strips us bare, forces us to question who we are, and reveals strength we didn't even know existed. But here's the paradox. While almost everyone hates pain, those who learn from it become unshakable. So let me ask you, what if your suffering wasn't meaningless? What if every wound, every scar, every silent cry in the dark was shaping you into someone you couldn't yet see? Stay with me, because in this video, we're going to explore the philosophy of suffering, why pain exists, how it transforms us, and why the very thing you're running from might just be the key to your deepest growth. If there's one thing that unites every single human being on this planet, it's suffering. No matter who you are, rich or poor, powerful or powerless, loved or abandoned, you cannot escape it. It doesn't matter where you're born, what language you speak, or what beliefs you hold. At some point, life will break your heart. Think about it. A child cries the moment they're born, gasping for breath in a world that feels foreign. That's suffering. A teenager feels the weight of rejection when they don't fit in. That's suffering. Adults carry the burden of responsibilities, failures, losses. That's suffering. Even the elderly, reflecting on a life behind them, know the suffering of time slipping away. Philosophers like Buddha called it dukkha, the inevitable suffering of existence. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, accepted it as the natural friction of life. And Friedrich Nietzsche, who perhaps understood suffering more than most, once wrote, "To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." But here's the strange thing. While we all suffer, we often act as if it's some kind of personal punishment. We ask, why me, why now? As if pain has singled us out unfairly. The truth is, pain is not personal, it's universal. It's the thread that connects every human being who has ever lived. And yet, despite being universal, we still don't know how to deal with it. Some of us run from it, numbing ourselves with distractions, social media, endless entertainment, shallow relationships. Some of us deny it, pretending we're fine while slowly crumbling inside. And others drown in it, letting the darkness consume them. But what if instead of running from suffering, we sat with it? What if we asked it what it was trying to teach us? Because here's something most people never realize. Pain speaks. It tells us where we are weak, where we need to grow, and what truly matters in life. Think about your own life. When did you grow the most? Was it in the moments when everything was perfect, or in the moments when life shattered your expectations? Be honest with yourself. Maybe it was when you lost someone you loved, and suddenly you discovered how fragile life really is. Maybe it was when you failed, and that failure pushed you to rebuild yourself stronger. Maybe it was when you felt completely alone, and from that loneliness, you learned to stand on your own 2 feet. Suffering, as cruel as it feels, is the birthplace of transformation. It breaks the illusion of who we think we are and forces us to uncover who we truly can be. And the greatest tragedy isn't that we suffer. It's that so many of us suffer without ever realizing the gift hidden inside the pain. When you look into a mirror, what do you see? Your reflection, your face, your appearance. But pain is a different kind of mirror. It doesn't show you your body, it shows you your soul. Think about the last time you were deeply hurt. Maybe it was something small, like a harsh word that cut you more than it should have. Or maybe it was something big, like betrayal from someone you trusted. In that moment, the pain wasn't just about the event. It was about what it revealed inside you. That sting of rejection? It wasn't only about the other person. It was about your fear of not being enough, That heartbreak, it wasn't only about losing someone. It was about your need for love, your vulnerability, your hidden insecurities. Pain doesn't just hurt you, it unmasks you. And this is why suffering is so powerful. It strips away the masks you wear every day. The mask of strength, the mask of control, the mask of, "I'm fine." Suddenly pain tears all of it apart and forces you to face yourself without filters. Most people hate this part. They don't want to see what lies underneath. They'd rather stay busy, keep scrolling, keep pretending. But here's the truth. Ignoring the mirror doesn't change who you are. It only delays the moment when reality crashes in. Philosophers have long known this. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we don't want to face. Pain has a way of dragging that shadow into the light, whether we like it or not. When life hurts, you suddenly come face to face with your jealousy, your fear, your need for validation, your loneliness. It's uncomfortable, even terrifying. But without this confrontation, real growth never begins. Ask yourself, what has pain revealed to you about yourself? Did you discover you're more fragile than you thought? Or did you uncover strength you never imagined you had? Because pain doesn't just show us our weaknesses, it also reveals our hidden power. When you lose what you thought you couldn't live without, and yet you survive, that's strength. When life knocks you down and you rise again, that's resilience. Pain reminds you of your vulnerability, but it also whispers, you are stronger than you believe. Nietzsche once said, one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. That chaos he spoke of, it's suffering. It's the mirror that forces you to wrestle with who you are so you can become someone greater. But here's the catch. Most people don't use the mirror. They look away. They numb it. They drown it. And in doing so, they miss the truth about themselves. Imagine someone who breaks a bone but refuses to acknowledge it. They keep walking on it, pretending it's fine. The injury doesn't heal. It only gets worse. That's exactly what happens when you refuse to look into the mirror of suffering. The pain festers, the wounds deepen, and one day they explode in ways you didn't expect. But those who dare to look, those who sit with their pain, who ask, what is this teaching me? They discover clarity that others never will. They learn what they value most, who they can trust, what boundaries they need, and what lies they've been telling themselves. Pain becomes not just a mirror, but a map, a guide, a light in the dark that shows you where to go next. So the next time you find yourself in pain, instead of asking, why me? Ask, what is this showing me about myself? Because the truth is, pain doesn't just happen to you, it happens for you. There's a pattern in life you can't ignore. Every person who has ever inspired the world, every thinker, every artist, every leader, every saint, has walked through suffering. Think about it. Would Viktor Frankl have written Man's Search for Meaning if he had not survived the horrors of a concentration camp? Would Nelson Mandela have become a symbol of resilience if he hadn't spent 27 years in prison? Would Rumi's poetry still touch hearts across centuries if he hadn't lived through deep loss? Suffering isn't just pain, it's transformation. It's the fire that reshapes who you are. Imagine a piece of raw iron. Strong, yes, but ordinary. Put it through the fire, hammer it, bend it, and it becomes a sword. That's what suffering does. It takes your raw existence and, through the heat of struggle, molds you into something unbreakable. But here's the paradox. When you're in the middle of the fire, it doesn't feel like transformation. It feels like destruction. When you lose someone you love, when you fail at something you poured your heart into, when life strips you of everything familiar, it feels like your soul is breaking. And yet, beneath that breaking, something new is forming. Every scar you carry holds a story, and every story carries strength. The people who seem the most wise, the most compassionate, the most grounded, they didn't become that way because life was kind. They became that way because life was ruthless, because they had no choice but to grow. Pain is the great sculptor. It chisels away your illusions, your pride, your false sense of control. It humbles you. It reminds you of what truly matters. It shows you that you are not invincible, but you are adaptable, that you are not perfect, but you are capable of rising after every fall. And when you rise differently. Stronger, yes, but also softer. You begin to see the suffering in others more clearly because you've known it yourself. You speak with more depth because your words aren't just ideas, they're lived experiences. This is why philosophers and spiritual teachers often spoke of suffering as sacred, because it doesn't just wound, it awakens. It doesn't just destroy, it rebuilds. But here's the part most people miss. Transformation is a choice. Two people can go through the same tragedy. One emerges bitter, the other wiser. One closes their heart, the other opens it wider. One becomes a prisoner of their pain, the other becomes free because of it. The difference isn't in the pain, it's in the response. So the question is, what will you choose to do with your suffering? Will you allow it to define you as a victim, or will you allow it to shape you into someone you never thought you could be? Because the truth is, struggle is not optional. Everyone will face it. But transformation? That's the part you get to decide. And perhaps that's the hidden gift of suffering. It forces you to decide who you want to become. So, the next time life feels unbearable, remember this: you are not being destroyed, you are being forged, just like iron in the fire. Have you ever noticed how much time we spend running away from pain? We avoid it, numb it, distract ourselves from it, anything but face it. Think about how often you scroll through your phone when you feel anxious, how you bury yourself in work when you feel lonely, or how you put on a smile when your heart is breaking. We are masters of pretending. But here's the truth. The more you resist pain, the more it controls you. Imagine holding a beach ball under the water. At first it seems manageable. You press it down, keep it hidden, and tell yourself you're in control. But eventually it slips, and when it does, it bursts to the surface with force, stronger than ever. That's what happens when you push down suffering. The longer you avoid it, the louder it comes back. Philosophers and psychologists agree on this. Resistance doesn't remove suffering, it multiplies it. Think about grief. When you lose someone, the pain is raw, unbearable. But if you refuse to face it, if you tell yourself, "I'm fine, I'll just keep moving," that grief doesn't disappear. It hardens. It leaks into your relationships, your health, your decisions. It shapes you even if you don't admit it. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." And he was right. Because pain ignored doesn't fade. It festers. So why do we resist? Because facing suffering feels like surrender. It feels like letting the darkness win. But what if the opposite is true? What if allowing yourself to feel pain is not weakness, but the first step to strength? Think about a wound. If you keep it covered, if you refuse to clean it, it gets infected. But when you open it, when you let the air and medicine touch it, that's when healing begins. The same goes for emotional wounds. Healing requires exposure. It requires honesty. It requires the courage to stop hiding. But here's the paradox. When you stop resisting pain, it changes. The fear lessens. The weight lightens. The suffering that once felt unbearable becomes something else. It becomes a teacher, a guide, a mirror that shows you what's inside you. When you sit with your suffering instead of running from it, you learn things you couldn't have learned otherwise. You learn patience, you learn humility, you learn what truly matters. You realize how strong you actually are. And slowly, the pain that once felt like your enemy begins to feel like an unlikely companion. Not one you asked for, not one you wanted, but one that helped you grow. So let me ask you this. What are you resisting right now? Is it the grief you haven't allowed yourself to feel? The heartbreak you're pretending didn't shatter you? The loneliness you're covering with busyness? What would happen if just for a moment you stopped running? Because the truth is, resistance doesn't protect you, it traps you. But facing your suffering, that's what sets you free. And freedom, real freedom, often begins in the very place you fear the most. There's a question every person eventually asks in silence. Why me? Why did I have to go through this heartbreak? Why did I lose what I loved most? Why was I given a burden so heavy that no one else seems to understand? The human mind searches for meaning in suffering, because without meaning, pain feels unbearable. But here's the paradox. Suffering itself doesn't come with meaning. It's neutral, raw, often senseless. The meaning comes from you, from what you choose to do with it. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of Auschwitz, once said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." And that is the essence of suffering. It forces you to transform from the inside. Ask yourself, what if your suffering is not a punishment but an invitation? Think about the times in your life when pain forced you to grow. The breakup that broke your heart, but also broke the illusion of what love meant to you. The failure that crushed you but also taught you resilience. The loss that shattered you but also awakened compassion for others. Isn't it strange? The very things you thought would end you often became the moments that began you. Suffering strips you of illusions. It takes away what is temporary so you can see what is eternal. It humbles you but also deepens you. It silences you but also awakens a voice inside you that you never knew was there. This is why so many philosophies and spiritual traditions speak of suffering not as an enemy, but as a teacher. In Buddhism, suffering is seen as the path to awakening. In Christianity, the cross is not just a symbol of pain, it's a symbol of transformation. In Stoic philosophy, hardships are not curses but opportunities to practice strength, wisdom, and virtue. Pain reminds us that we are fragile, but also that we are unbreakable. It reminds us that we cannot control life, but we can always choose our response. And here's the truth most people never realize. Suffering and meaning are inseparable. The deeper the wound, the deeper the opportunity to create meaning. So, the next time you find yourself asking, "Why me?" pause. Ask instead, what can this teach me? What can this awaken in me? Who can I become because of this? You may not find the answer immediately. You may wrestle with it for years, but slowly, piece by piece, you'll see that your suffering was not wasted, because pain doesn't just shape the soul, it awakens it. And one day, when you look back at the darkest chapters of your life, you might realize they were also the chapters that revealed your light. So don't run from suffering. Don't deny it. Don't let it turn you bitter. Instead, allow it to become the soil in which your soul takes root. Because in the end, the story of your suffering might also be the story of your becoming. And that story, the one written not in comfort, but in fire, is the one that will make your soul unshakable.